the arrest of Atul and Rajesh Gupta in the United Arab Emirates. I'm joined now for further reaction by Outer's CEO, Wayne Duvenage. Wayne, good evening. So just initially your reaction, I imagine that this is news you welcome.
Yes, absolutely. You know, long overdue, but we've always said that resilience pays off. If the rule of law is allowed to flow, those implicated in state capture will be rounded up, even if they try to escape our shores, especially when Interpol gets involved. So this is good news. I think South Africa should celebrate. This is the type of kingpins of state capture that we've been waiting for. And there's a lot more to flow, but these are good. This is good news.
Yeah. When memories are fickle and South Africans deal with a lot, there was a point where the role of the Guptas was in sharp focus, and it seems to me to have ebbed a little bit, that particular sharp focus around the role of the Guptas. It sort of rose a little bit more when the last installment of the Zondo Commission report was released, because you know, it then focused on the role of the Guptas once more. Just for those who perhaps are at a point where they're saying, I've since moved on from the Guptas, well, great, they've been arrested, but, you know, we've got bigger fish to fry. Do we?
Well, we've got a lot of fish to fry, but we should never relent. We should never give up on matters like this, because this is what gives us hope. You know, for too often we hear people saying the Guptas will never be arrested. Things are not going to go that way with regards to the NPA's capabilities. But this proves them wrong. And if we can get the rule of law to flow, if we can get these arrests to happen, and as we say, so much more, then this is stuff that we need to celebrate, because it's all part of the building blocks of getting our country back on track. Accountability for corruption and maladministration is something that we don't see enough of. But we think now that the NPA's tack and their strategy of being focused, of staying the course, is starting to pay off. And those who believed this day would never arrive now can realize they were wrong.
How long do you believe their rap sheet is? Particularly if we narrow it down from corruption, malfeasance, and state capture, and we try to talk specific crimes. Aviwe Mdila, our senior reporter, reflecting on their role in that Estina dairy farm project, as well as the flow of funds from there and the allegations of money laundering. But also, you'll remember, Wayne, just recently, the latest Zondo Commission report finding that there's credibility in Mcebisi Jonas's allegation that he was offered a 600 million rand bribe, and not only finding that, but actually recommending that the NPA should consider charging the Gupta brother who was responsible for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So many tentacles, and we see recently the Transnet matters where the Guptas played a big role as well. So all of this comes together, but the nice thing is that you can get them on one matter, just one case. There was 25 million rand, or most of that flowed into the Guptas' accounts through Iqbal Sharma's role at Nulani Investments. That's enough, you know, to get a sizable sentence. But when you start adding all these other matters, you know, there's so many cronies, there's so many bag carriers and others that are implicated in all these cases. So it's going to be good to see people who were part of the scheme in South Africa, the Anosh Singhs, the Brian Molefes and others that still need to be charged, we believe, and we've put so many of those cases forward. So this really is good news for South Africa. I cannot tell you how important this is. We need to celebrate it, as I say.
So some years ago, we had that big, great investigative journalism work in the Gupta leaks, which formed a substantial amount of the proof, because it was never refuted. And in fact, to be quite honest, there was not even a serious attempt to refute on the part of the Guptas or any of the other people implicated by those emails. It almost felt like there was an acceptance and saying that, well, you've caught us out. No one seriously tried to challenge those. So you've got that. You now have the State Capture Commission of Inquiry report, which, despite what people like to say, that it didn't do any of its own investigations and was, people like to say, some people like to say that it was a expensive gossip session. It actually did do a lot of investigative work that is entailed in the report, if people would bother to read the report and the references to that. So where I'm going with this is, how much do you believe, how easier do you believe the work, or bearable, let's say, do you believe the work of the NPA has been made when we get to that point, if and when we get to that point that they've been extradited and they're appearing in the High Court, either in Johannesburg or in Pretoria? And the question I asked earlier on was of Lawson Naidu was to say, would you say it would take the NPA seriously dropping the ball for them to not even catch the Guptas on at least one of the charges that they are accused of?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of good work was done through the Zondo Commission and those Gupta leaks, which put a lot of wind into the sails, took away a lot of the speculation, as you say, and they couldn't refute that information. And I think, we've got to understand that the NPA is trying to deal with everyday crime of burglaries, rape, robbery. It's just, and then you add on top of that 10 years of state capture. There's a lot of resources that are required. So the Zondo Commission's work, which is a very formal judicial process, has been immense. And if the NPA cannot capitalize on that, then there's a serious problem. We believe they are now doing this work. They should have done it some time ago in concurrence with the Zondo Commission. But doesn't matter if it's a couple of years late. It was well worth the R1 billion in the time. And now the chickens are coming home to roost.
And lastly, Wayne, the presumption of innocence until you're proven guilty really is about the judicial officer and other role players. Once the court process starts and gets underway, nothing stops South Africans forming their own, view of what the situation is from what they know that's already out in the public. Just talk to me about the impact of the activities of the Guptas. The last report of the Zondo Commission again comes to mind that talks about nearly $15 billion at Eskom alone with contracts, the irregular contracts, mainly with entities that are linked to the Gupta family. It seems Eskom was one of their key sites of operation.
Yeah, Eskom and Transnet before that. So, without a doubt, I think when your decisions are well informed, and the Zondo Commission report is a well informed source of information, of course we need to go through the innocent until proven guilty. But I think we all know that, as you said earlier, you really have to drop the ball big time not to be successful in all the information and all the evidence that has now come to the fore. So, there are billions that they have scored just in the Transnet deal alone. 15 billion rand, we believe, and Eskom. There was the Nilani investments. The tentacles go deep and wide when it comes to the Guptas. But I think what happened here was a lot more than that. This conduct of corruption and feeling that everybody was going to be safe while Jacob Zuma had their back has crept right down into local government level through the lieutenants that were in the provincial governments, Ace Magashula being one, and from Northwest Province. It just really was rife. This is the biggest damage that's been done that has to be undone. A whole culture of saying no to corruption, which is going to take years to develop, and we need strong leadership in government in order to fix this country going forward.
Wayne, I've got to thank you for your time this evening. That's Wayne Duvenage, his outer CEO, reacting to the news of the arrest of the Gupta brothers, the two Gupta brothers, Atul and Rajesh, arrested in the United Arab Emirates.